Today we're going to be ranking every single episode from Attack on Titan Part 1 and Part 2 together from worst to best. That is every single episode, as in all 28 episodes of the final season, ranked from the worst one at number 28 all the way to the best one at number 1. There is no special ranking scheme to this video. I'm literally just going to be ranking it from the best, as in the most enjoyable and I guess best written episode, if you want to call it that, to the worst. Except reverse order, because I go from worst to best. It shouldn't be that hard to rank all these episodes, right? Except I spent about 3 weeks making this video.
Okay.
First up, aka worst up, is episode 24. Wait, what happened again? Oh, right. Literally nothing. I'ma come clean. This episode was ass. Usually ass and Attack on Titan don't go well together in a sentence, except when we're talking about episode 24. I can't understand for the love of God why Isayama would put in something as pathetic as Connie wanting to revive his mom. Does this man Connie have no brain capacity, or does the rumbling suddenly have the ability to induce stupidity? I was originally a fan of the slower paced episodes when it came to the really good ones, but when it's literally this pointless ass, boring ass dialogue, I could not care less. In all honesty, the latter half of the episode wasn't that bad, but it was kinda ass overall, and I stand by that. Yup, another episode where the opening is literally the best part. To be fair, the Annie backstory was cool, but besides that, everything else was kind of pointless plot progression. Like, really nothing special happened, but not a bad episode. I mean, Annie finally coming back was actually really cool, and it's a good thing that they didn't just keep her frozen in that crystal for the eternity of the story. But besides that, yeah, nothing much. Okay, this one was actually a good episode, but it was literally just 24 minutes of constant talking. No plot progression. I understand the need for this episode, of course, as dialogue is crucial in writing compelling characters and story, but did it really have to be an entire episode? The slow pacing for episodes like this was honestly just unnecessary. This one and the last one could have made 1.5 episodes at least instead of 2. I did really love the dialogue, however, and overall the episode was great. I will just say one thing. Mappa is either all or nothing with its animation. I swear, an entire 20 seconds was just on John's face while Hanji was talking. They didn't have the budget to show John's mouth move. Anyways, it wasn't that bad of an episode. Like I said, it was just slow. Man, what a wholesome episode. Let's try that again. Man, what a wholesome episode. It's so nice to... Once again, this episode did exactly what it set out to do. It showed us who Reiner really was as a character, and that definitely made me like him a lot more. The man was going through some complex PTSD due to the sheer number of L's he took in the past. Great character growth for Reiner, but that's about it. There was a lot of great plot progression with a lot of important characters, but undoubtedly the best part of this episode was Eren 12-pack having Jaeger in his jacket scene. Also, 12-pack, episode 12. AOE confirmed, it's AOE confirmed. This man breaks out of prison, using his new powers and whips on a jacket in front of the sunset looking as natty as David Lade. What kind of D-ball do they have on Paradise Island? I'm trying to get me some of that Titan-hardened founding Titan 12-pack too. Wait!
3
episodes at once? You can't do that!
That's so bitch ass up.
Maybe it is kind of cheating, but I can't really separate these 3 episodes because each of them do basically the same thing. I guess if I had to pick one, it'd be episode 9 because of, you know, the Tatakai scene. But all 3 are solid development episodes with important dialogue. Some people hate on episodes like these, but you gotta use your lizard brain to understand that they're definitely necessary in progressing the plot, as I said, but also in making the god tier moments all the more god tier. They knew they had to end part 1 with a bang, and so they gave us this episode. After having no action for the last 8 episodes, AOT is just about to get into the action once again, then they go on a hiatus for a year. For me, the build up to the cliffhanger is what made this episode special and what gave it such a high position. Yes, there's some bias with the fact that it is the last episode of the season, but that doesn't undermine the fact that it was a fire ass episode. Seemed like a wholesome episode, not the best, but it's nice to finally have a break from the madness once in a while. Oh? Is that an end credit scene? What could this possibly mean? Oh my god. Yeah, that one moment single-handedly carries this episode up from being at the bottom of the list to being at number 19. But a single scene can't carry it this high on the list.
Man, shut your bitch ass up.
These 15 seconds were enough to get this episode to number 19. Do you know how long we waited for this? Like 3 episodes. If Liner couldn't have taken enough L's already, this episode cements him as the plot armor titan. This episode was actually brilliant in how it contrasted Eren and Reiner and both of their struggles. In this episode, it was specifically Reiner, a character who was previously a hateable antagonist, now becomes a lovable character, and a very well developed one at that. This episode was absolutely necessary for Reiner's character writing, and it gave me a completely different perspective on the first episode as a whole. They literally were just kids who didn't know any better. It's kinda sad when you think about it. While this episode had no fighting, the tension was definitely there. In terms of a dialogue heavy episode, this was one of the best for me. I'm sure you Gabby fans are happy with this one because it's character development. Haha, joke's on you Gabby fans. The best part of this episode was literally a 10-second moment with Levi, an actually important character. Now that's how you start a season. Whenever Ashes on the Fire plays, you know the episode is about to be special. That OST became my new PR song after that episode, and I still use it to this day. Overall, that episode was a great example of how to start a season off in an absolutely exhilarating way. Bruh, I can't lie, this OST hits some kind of way, man. Doesn't it just remind you of the old days when the Colossal Titan was the final boss, and now it's literally a good 10 million of them with a half-kilometer high skeleton hallucinogen looking ass thing. This was also the first episode of the final season part 2 where the animation was actually top tier, and it was at the perfect time. And of course, rest in peace to the god himself, Pixies, and the rest of the military whose names I don't care to remember. Freaking finally some action! We waited a good 4 episodes for this, and it was worth it. The action was great to see again, and seeing Marley and Eldia team up was actually pretty cool. Undoubtedly, the best part of the episode was the final part. That OST, man, had me feeling depressed for no reason. It was just beautiful. Also, is it just me, or was this battle very plot armor heavy? I swear some random ass no-name Jaegerist could have just snuck up to the boat and blown a huge ass hole into it. These 2 episodes were both as good as each other for me. Great action with the ever so perfect AOT OST, Eren vs Reiner again, Zeke's arrival, upgraded CGI, decent animation. You add up all those things with AOT's story, and it just isn't even fair. These 2 episodes were great, but in complete honesty, don't match up to the manga version in my opinion. Maybe episode 1 did, but episode 2 was just really slow. Still, for one of the biggest battles in the whole story, it lived up to the hype for sure. I rate this episode very highly as it was amazing all throughout. It actually gave us a very important conversation, one that involved an interesting change of events. But the best part of this episode for me was undoubtedly Levi versus Zeke again. Bro, did you hear the music? These mans put a rap song into an anime. Despite the oddly animated CGI, this fight was absolutely exquisite. Levi ripping apart Titans never gets old, and Zeke getting ripped up doesn't either. Zeke low-key had the best backstory in the whole series, except for maybe Ymir's. Taken that we hated this man for the entirety of a story, and a single episode made us, or at least me, like him again. It also reveals that Zeke turned in his parents for the greater good. Once again, as AOT seems to always do, tying past events to the present and making them make damn sense. Man, Mappa is kinda slacking, bro. What's with these slow ass frames? Hey yo, that's kinda fire. Yo, what? Man, I don't even know where to start with this episode. It honestly deserves to be ranked higher. Action was top tier, animation was at its best, as you just saw. Mikasa went absolute demon mode on the Jaegerist, which was fun to watch. Falco's Titan form, Maggot's sacrifice, and of course, FaZe Gabby. Seriously, what didn't this episode have? Okay, now we're getting into the good ones. Episode 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the final season part 1 were some of the best TV show things I have ever seen, and somehow this is the least of them. The episode itself was a complete reversal of what Reiner and Bertolt did to Eren 9 years back, and this was just Eren saying, "It's my turn, motherfucker." We also finally got to see the long-awaited Warhammer Titan, who made a grand appearance of less than 20 minutes, and then hardened herself only to get cracked open by Eren an episode later. Sick. You know what else is sick? Eren breaking the laws of shonen anime. Bro didn't let the woman transform. He annihilated her, then gets annihilated a few seconds later. Also, the Mikasa entrance combined with the music? I could just go on about this episode forever. Speaking of going on about an episode, let's talk about this mind of an episode. How do you go from Eren fighting Reiner, to the Triad reuniting, to Gabby killing Sasha, to Zeke betraying Marley, to Eren showing emotion? This episode was ridiculous. Sasha's death came out of nowhere and it hit hard. Zeke's betrayal was heavily foreshadowed and yet it also hit hard. Of the 4 masterpieces I mentioned, this is the one with the most mindfuckery. And because of that, it scores really high. This episode honestly felt like a movie. There are very few times when I can say that about an anime and not be exaggerating. It didn't feel like a movie because of the animation, more so because of the absolutely ridiculous shit that happened. The War for Parody is just wraps up in an incredible way, and just how they animated Eren's head getting chopped off with all the memory shards had me going nuts. I honestly love being a manga reader because you can focus more on the little things about the anime, and I realized that through watching this episode. The music throughout was exceptional as it always is, and I mean, what more is there to say? It's this high because it's this good. Yet another one of the episodes where you're left thinking, hey yo, what the fuck? At this point, I don't even know. The culmination of all these episodes into one video is making it hard for me to describe. There aren't enough goddamn synonyms out there to use. This episode was quite literally Eren making a joke out of Marley, Armin setting off a Hiroshima type bomb, Zeke getting his ass slapped by Levi, Falco and Gabby being completely hopeless, Reiner being suicidal, Porco and Pete getting destroyed as usual, Eren being a man. You get what I mean? This episode was just bonkers. Some people call this the best episode of the show, some of the season, some of the week, and some crazy mans in all of anime. The first part was cool and all with the Marley flashback, but without a doubt, Eren's point of view made this episode, and most of all, the rumbling making a grand entrance onto the continent. I can't even explain the beauty of this episode. Eren's monologues are truly some of the best parts of this story, and this was no exception. Finally getting a glimpse of his emotions was definitely necessary. The episodes before may have lacked slightly, but this one did not, and that's a fact. The OST used in these moments seemed like it was made for this moment, as by looking at the lyrics, it's clear that although it was used in season 1, the rumbling was heavily foreshadowed in them. There's a reason why a ton of analysis videos have been made solely on this episode. The juxtaposition of Eren and Reiner in these moments was easily some of the best writing AOT has given us. Eren as a character having evolved, Reiner as a character having evolved, Falco sitting there with the same look as most of us watching, and Willy setting the stage of his own death. Many think it was the end of this episode that was amazing, and while it was the episode as a whole that made it for me. This was nothing short of art. If anything, it was beyond art. There is a lot to talk about. You have a good 4-minute recap, Zeke realizing he's f***ed, and Eren ripping his fingers off even though he knows everything will somehow work out in the end. Man, you really doing this with the OST, bro? Man. Ymir's story was necessary to the story and was absolutely beautiful. I just wish we got like a good 5 more episodes of it. Like seriously, imagine a full history of AOT, like an AOT Vinland Saga crossover. That'd be so sick. There's a reason why this episode could easily be argued for number 1, and trust me, it wasn't easy making the choice. On top of all this, we still have arguably the best moment of the episode left. Oh my Eren Yeager, this scene was perfection. That new OST, the animation, and Yuki freaking Kaji. What stupendous voice acting. Did you have any doubts that this would be number 1? I mean, how could it not be? Action is cool, but the chaddest of chads know that it's the storytelling that makes a good story a good story. Attack on Titan is known for its immense number of plot twists, and yet it was able to outdo itself with this one. I mean, what the actual how could something like this even be possible? I don't think any other moment made Eren seem more villainous than this one, and that made Eren exceed the realm of understanding. Not to mention the music in this episode, Grisha breaking down, this man actually had me feeling bad for him. Alright, that's it. That's every single episode in Attack on Titan's final season, ranked from worst to best. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.